yourself first. What is that principle and how do you get started? Let's talk about it. My name is Joseph Darling. This is the Men of High Value movement. Paying yourself first is a principle that I learned a long time ago, but that I've really only taken real seriously in the last few months, and it was about time. Let me explain a story to you. If I had it, I would put the clip in there right now. Shaquille O'Neal talking to a very, very wealthy man in the early parts of his basketball career, and they were talking about how this wealthy man, who was way richer than Shaquille O'Neal, and Shaquille was making quite a lot of money at that time, and he was asking, how'd you get so rich? Okay, and the wealthy man said, listen to this, what the rich do. This is your income. You take half and you put it inside, you put it aside into income producing assets. That's it. The rest, you get to spend. That's what the rich do. The super mega wealthy, they take 75%, put it aside into income producing assets, and they spend the remaining 25%. Shaquille O'Neal's brain basically exploded. He started living that principle, and that's why he's that rich today and enjoying his life. And I want you to be able to do the same. If you did that, if you started from today to begin to set aside 50 to 75% of your income into income producing assets, you will become a multi-millionaire. And that's the truth. Okay? Like, there are people who do this, and this is the FIRE movement, but they're not even trying to get rich. They just want to get their time back. So they literally do this, the same principle, but then they stop working. Like at around 35 and 40 years old, and then they're like, okay, I can live on my investments for the rest of my life. Oh my gosh! Like, imagine if they were entrepreneurs and actually decided to build businesses that serve the people for the rest of, eternity, whatever, right? Obviously, not all businesses do that, but do you get what I'm saying? Like, if they establish systems that they could give on to their kids, that their kids actually enjoyed participating in and building forward, right? And they gave them the right habits, etc. And we've got systems for that too in the Men of High Value movement. If they just had done that, do you know how much wealth could have multiplied from 35 to 40 years into the future? Oh my, that's how you become a multi-millionaire, if not a billionaire, especially with hyperinflation that's going to happen soon, right? By then, we'll probably use other measuring sticks for wealth, but it is what it is. Gold, silver, Bitcoin, don't matter. It's the same principle. 50 to 75%, you set it aside and put it into income producing assets, and it's time to start today. Don't wait like me. I've waited for years to do this. I've known about the principle. It's all over, everywhere, in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. It's in The Richest Man in Babylon, etc., etc., etc. But so few people do it. And guess what? That's why they're super wealthy. It is what it is. There's tons of people who are rich and spend it all, and then eventually they go broke because there's always world events that that catches people by surprise, that suddenly, and they're caught with their pants down. That's not a good thing, right? But if you actually apply this principle, you can be rich in any situation because you understand money. This is how money works, guys. Let's start applying that principle. So, let's talk about what is an income producing asset. And then we can talk about a few ways that you can practically apply it that we discussed actually on the last group call with the Men of High Value in our inner circle, our founders, and we discussed it. So what is income producing assets? First of all, an asset is something that puts money inside your pocket. A liability, which is then the opposite, is something that takes money out of your pocket. Robert Kiyosaki says a house is not an asset unless it's an investment that you're trying to rent out to someone else. If you're buying a house to live in it yourself, it automatically becomes a liability, right? if you buy it or invest in it in order for someone else to live in it and it puts money inside your pocket, it's an asset. So you understand what that is now. So what are some income producing assets and which are the most important ones? Let me start with the most important. Okay, there is no other asset out there that's more important than this one, and it is crucial for you to understand. And I'll explain it by giving a quote by an awesome entrepreneur named Jeremy Lee Minor. He teaches sales on Instagram. It's amazing. And he basically said that the number one expense that you have in your life is not your house. It's not taxes, although taxes is a pretty big expense. Your number one biggest expense in life is your inability to make money. That's your largest expense. Your inability to make money. Okay? So if you're stuck at making 3 to 4 to 5K a month, amazing if you manage to do that and it pays your bills, etc., etc. Okay, it's a great start, but we need to get to the point where you make 10K a month, 20K a month, 30K a month, and beyond. Why? Because that's the biggest expense. If you had those skills you'd be producing, then you'd be making a lot of money, and then you can apply the principle and you can start setting aside stuff, and now the wealth cycle begins. So you have to learn to make money. And then you have to protect that money by consuming less than what you produce, and preferably a lot less than what you produce. Right? Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist, he made a video just a few months ago about how he lives on 4% of his income. 4%. Can you imagine? So he's basically taking this paper and doing it multiple times, putting it aside and into income producing assets, and he lives on the rest. Crazy, right? You can do that too. You just have to think bigger and begin to grow your skills. And that's why I'm coming now to the biggest, most important income producing asset is your brain, your mind, your skill sets. Okay, if your brain is not functioning right, it's going to be very difficult for you to build skills. In order for you to get rich, you need to have skills. What can you do with skills? Produce value for other people. When you produce value for other people, that's when value returns back to you, which is awesome. Because now if you take that money and you go out and invest into more value, okay? Either value that other people create or more of the value that you create because you train other people or have other people train people that you've trained. Do you get what I'm saying? Right? You now reinvest value to the world. And the universal system blesses you abundantly because of it. This is how the system works, guys. This is how the system works. And I wish that everyone understood it. It's probably one of the biggest, most important principles that you can learn ever in your entire life. So the brain, your mind. So what goes under that? How can you invest inside your brain or invest in your mind? Does that mean that you have to sign up for Neuralink with Elon Musk? No, okay? And I don't even know if that's a very wise decision anyway. I don't know if I recommend anyone to do that because it seems kind of not natural. So how can you do it? Well, you could do it with books. Books is a fantastic start if you don't have any money whatsoever, okay? Well, guess what? If you put 1% or 10% of your income aside for income producing assets, maybe the first one should go to the best books ever out there. Now, me personally, I've stopped reading books a long time ago. And I should make another video on why that is in a few days or whatever. If you guys want it, make sure you comment down below in the description. What type of books have you read, Joseph? A lot, okay? But it came to a point where, yeah, I can explain that in another video. However, that's a good start if you've got no money whatsoever. You can't hire a mentor. You can't hire a community. You can't invest in business yet because you have no idea what you're doing and you don't want to be losing money. Invest in your brain by buying books, watching YouTube, okay? If you need YouTube Premium in order for you to not watch ads all the time, you can do that too. Maybe it's not necessary, but you get what I'm saying? Investing time and effort into gaining education that actually helps you, that gives you skills so that you can actually create value to other people out there. That's the number one thing. So books, webinars, networking events, social gatherings, seminars, right? where you have the opportunity of learning from other people that have gone before you, that have stepped on the minefield so that you don't have to do that yourself. The biggest thing and the fastest way to actually gain those skills, trust me, it's having a mentor. And this is why I created Men of High Value in the first place. To educate men, single men, to prepare themselves for their future and set themselves up massively before they get a family of their own. If men could just do that, because it just takes a few years in the beginning of their lives, in the beginning of their adult lives, to actually massively progress and create exponential growth in every single area of life. And very often the things that cause young men to stumble is women. And very often they commit to a woman too soon, and suddenly now they have a woman that they need to take care of, and then maybe they get kids, and now they basically put their career 15 to 20 years on the back burner. Don't do what I did, okay? That's no offense to my wife, she's absolutely amazing, but I should really have considered these principles before, but no one taught me about it. So now I'm here teaching you guys, okay? Having said that, hire a mentor. It's the fastest way for you to actually create exponential growth, but make sure that these mentors know what they're doing and will actually take you to the land of your dreams. And I'm the best mentor out there for that. I'm biased, or at least I'm the most affordable business mentor out there that can help you to achieve those things in a very short period of time, who actually takes the time to get to know you and texts you on Instagram. Okay, who does that? Who's rich? Not many, right? So yeah, anyway, so text me on Instagram at Men of High Value. That's the number one thing that I would suggest that you spend that money on, okay? And yes, I'm biased, but check out my testimonials, get to know some of the people that I've coached, understand what they got from it, and then make your own decision. Having said that, what's the second best investments that you could ever make that are income producing assets? I'm just going to list them all here. And I was going to make a video about what I personally invest in, but let's just mention them because they're right here. Income producing assets. You've got real money, okay? You've got currency. You've got, and there's a difference between those. The difference, and I can explain that real quick, money is something that's scarce and that will always remain scarce, okay? Like Bitcoin. That's scarce. It will always remain scarce. Like gold and silver. Okay? Very scarce. It only grows as fast as we can mine it. Right? And so it's a very scarce commodity. And if you have some, it's very good when the government collapses. Right? To have that as a currency to get the stuff that you need for you and your family. So is it wise to invest in those things? Yes, it is. Okay? Is it the biggest and most important income producing asset out there? No, your mind is. But very quickly after comes Bitcoin, okay, gold and silver. After that, or I would say actually before Bitcoin, gold and silver, I'd say that investing in your own business is very, very wise to do. However, the problem with you and your business is that you don't know what you're doing in the beginning. So should you invest all of your money for income producing assets in a business that you've just started, that you really don't know what you're doing yet? Probably not, right? So you need some form of diversification in order for you to not lose it all in one investment. But if you do know what you're doing, fantastic. Then your own business would be the absolutely best thing to invest in, because that is the thing that will most that is fastest, except for your mind, to grow and to grow your money, right? And it needs to be a product or service that you actually can bring to the public, that everyone believes in, and that the thing is that you don't need a loan, and you actually don't need much money to start a business. You just need to produce value for someone else, and then suddenly they pay you, and now you can reinvest that into the business. So anyway, but I would say that's a very good one. Food, guns, okay? Maybe tools or vehicles, cars, or whatever thing that you need in order for you to operate properly and for your business to operate properly. And then there are something like real estate, obviously, is a really great one. And then you've got stocks, other businesses and mutual funds, other people's. Me personally, I think that should be something that you put more on the back burner compared to the other things that I've mentioned so far. And the reason why I say that is because you don't have very much control over what those businesses do. Yes, on average, you can just plant that money in mutual funds, in the Vanguard index fund, or in other stocks, whatever, and then, over time it'll probably grow, right? Because most of the time it does, except during these times, right? With Facebook dropping 70% and Google dropping 40% just in this year, right? I mean, it's insane, but do you get what I'm saying? Like, vast majority of the time, it does go up if you have it in a diversified index fund. However, I don't recommend it. Why? Because you don't have control over it. You have more control over things that you have control over, and that's really what you should be investing in. And, of course, again, your education, which is your mind, but not the formal education, because that's an absolutely horrible investment. So, that's the stuff. Now you understand kind of the priorities based on what I said now of what I invest in, what I spend my money on or invest my money into when I set aside money for income producing assets. But I always prioritize my mind, because that's going to help me to figure out what the best investments out there are. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you pay yourself first and subscribe and like, and I'll see you guys in the next one.